All right, this is the third video in operant conditioning. In this video, we're talking about reinforcement schedules and going beyond Skinner. So first of all, reinforcement schedules. In video one, we talked about different types of reinforcement. When you are reinforcing behavior, you have to look at how often are you reinforcing behavior. So that's what we mean by reinforcement schedules. So you could potentially be reinforcing continuously. Continuous reinforcement is reinforcing every single time the behavior happens. Okay? Every time you go and take notes, I am going to give you a starburst. Okay? That's continuous reinforcement. Now, there's good and bad to the continuous reinforcement. The good thing is that you will very quickly learn that in order to get a starburst, you're going to take your notes. Okay? Bad side is that as soon as I stop giving you starburst, the behavior stops. Okay? So it's not very good with long-term behavior and instilling long-term behavior. So in order to instill long-term behavior, you have to do partial reinforcement. Partial schedule is going to be where behavior is sometimes reinforced and sometimes not. Now, when you reinforce it depends upon the schedule that you choose. So if, for example, you're doing a fixed ratio schedule, this is when the behavior is reinforced after so many responses. So, for example, I have a card. I am a Girl Scout leader. So I have a card for when I go to the Girl Scout store and I buy whatever it is I'm going to buy for my Girl Scout troop. If I spend $20, they will punch my card. For every time I spend $20, they punch my card. For every 20 punches I have, if I fill up the entire card, then I get $20 off my next purchase. Okay? That's a fixed ratio schedule because it is going to be after so many behaviors, then you get reinforced. Same thing with your homework checks. After so many homeworks, okay, it is going to, I'm going to go and collect your homework. I'm going to check your homework, okay? Variable ratio schedule is going to be where behavior is reinforced after an unpredictable number of responses. So you have no idea how long it's going to be, how many times you have to respond before you get reinforced. Example of this, bonuses. If you have a parent that, for example, maybe as a salesperson, sometimes they get bonuses based off from the sales that they sold maybe in this month or this week, or the total of all of the sales. They'll just randomly say, "Oh yeah, we're getting a bonus." Okay, so you don't know when that's going to happen. All right. Another example of a reinforcement schedule is a fixed interval schedule. This is going to be reinforced after a fixed time period. So it's not about how often I do a behavior, it's about the time lapse that happens. For example, have you ever gone to go boil water for noodles or something, and you put the water on to boil, and maybe you're going away and you're folding laundry or going to the bathroom or you're working on your homework or whatever, and you keep coming back and checking on that water. Is it boiling yet? No. Okay, come back in a couple minutes later. No, it's not boiling yet. Okay, keep coming back. But you're not going to be reinforced. In other words, the water's not going to boil based off from how many times you're checking it. It's based off from the amount of time it takes for the water to boil. Okay, so it's only going to boil in a certain amount of time. It's not boiling based off from how many times you check it. Okay, that's a fixed interval schedule. The last schedule is a variable interval schedule, and a variable interval schedule is going to be where you're reinforced after a varying amount of time. So the book talked about an example of checking your email. Maybe, for example, I'm waiting for a Christmas list for my mom. Okay, so I'm continually checking my email. Okay, but it's not going to. I'm not going to all of a sudden get my mom's email after checking it because I checked it 5 times. Okay, it's going to be after a varying length of time when she sends it. Then all of a sudden, whoa! I'm rewarded for checking my email. I got my email from my mom. Okay. Another example, observations, I put the administration picture in there, but observations by teachers. The administration comes in and they observe teachers, right? Sometimes they tell you, sometimes they don't, but when they don't tell you, okay, it's a random pop-in and they come in and they observe your class, okay, that's after a random amount of time. It's not after so many class periods. It's a random amount of time that they will come in and pop in and observe you. So those are kind of the reinforcement schedules. All right, so going beyond Skinner with operant conditioning. What they found is that there's something called the over-justification effect. People after Skinner started applying operant conditioning to everything. Let's just reinforce all of these things. Well, what they found is that there's sometimes a problem with this when you're talking about something that people generally like to do already, and they have this intrinsic motivation to do it. Think about whatever you like to do. So think about, if you went home tonight and you had no homework and you had no tests to study for, no quizzes to study for, you had no sports practice, you had no work, what would you do? Okay, what other than rejoice and sing hallelujah? What would you do? What was your most favorite thing to do? Okay, now take that favorite thing, and what if I went and paid you money to do that? Okay, what would happen would be is that you would all of a sudden see the reward as motivation. And because I'm continually paying you, for example, I like to read. Okay, I like to read fiction. I will read and read books. I love books. But if somebody went and paid me to read books, okay, all of a sudden I would be reading books for the payment, for the money. I wouldn't be reading books for my own intrinsic value. So it can be applied, but it ruins your intrinsic motivation. It ruins that intrinsic happiness, okay? So that's kind of one of the downsides of operant conditioning. The other thing is that Skinner did talk about superstitious behavior, and he said that superstitious behavior, things like, for example, wearing the same pair of socks for your games, or, those are my lucky socks, or, I used to have a electronic fortune cookie on my desk, and I'd have students that would come in every day before a quiz or a test. They're like, "Ooh, I gotta check my fortune because that will give me a good grade on my quiz or my test." Okay. Skinner said the only reason that you're doing that is because it was accidentally reinforced, and so it's making sure that when it's accidentally reinforced, the behavior occurs again. So you wore your socks to the game one day, these purple socks, by accident, and oh my gosh, we won. Oh well, it must be the socks. That was the only thing that was different. So I have to wear those purple socks every single time. Or, I have to check my fortune cookie because when I did that, oh my gosh, I got, an A or a B or whatever on the quiz or a test. So Skinner says, that's you're just reinforcing it accidentally. Okay, so it's not a real thing. So that's kind of a good application of operant conditioning. Okay, that's all I wanted to talk about with operant conditioning, and let me know if you have any questions.